Lift your hands, open your eyes, stretch out your legs. Keep the legs hip width apart, keep them straight. Heels away from you, toes towards you to engage the legs. Press your fingertips on the floor, roll the shoulders back, and lift the armpits away from the floor and lengthen the frontal. See that you're creating an L shape. It's as if your back is to the wall and you are lifting. Focus on lengthening from your hips to your heels and from your hips to the armpits. Use your fingertips as support and lift the trunk. Try to create a length in the lumbar spine by lifting the navel away from the floor. Place both your hands on your knees. Roll the shoulders back once again. And with the same concept of lifting the armpits away from the hips, lift the navel away from the floor and create this length in the lumbar. Breathe in, raise up the arms. And now take the upper arms slightly behind the ear, creating a full length in the front body, a full extension of the front body. Maintaining this extension of the front body, lean forward slightly, pinning your buttock. With this action, lengthen the navel away from the floor. Lengthen the sternum away from the navel. Once again, reach forward once more. And lengthen the trunk. Navel away from the floor, sternum away from the navel. And pin your sitting bones. So this teaches us to lengthen the lumbar in a very quiet manner, if I'm honest. Place your fingertips in front of your knees. Cup your fingers. Lift the armpits away from the floor. Lift the navel away from the floor. Lift the sternum away from the floor. But pin your bottom. Walk your hands slightly forward and do the same. Lift the navel, lift the sternum, but pin your buttock bones down. Your hands back. Come to the toe and straighten your legs out for Upavista. In Upavista Konasana, the same action, pin your fingertips down, lift the navel away from the floor, lift the sternum away from the navel, lift your arms. Sit tall. Lengthen from your heel to your hip, both legs. And from the hip to the heel, and from your hip to the armpit. Breathing in, raise up your arms, a full extension. Pin the buttock bones down and lift the navel away from the floor, lift the sternum away from the navel. Stretch your elbows, stretch your wrist, stretch your palms, and stretch your fingers. Reach for the ceiling while pinning the buttock down, pin the thighs down, heels away from you, toes towards you. Have a full extension of both legs and the trunk, the arms and the fingers. Gaze forward. Fold your legs in for Baddha Konasana. Your ankles. And lift the navel once again away from the floor. Lift the sternum away from the navel. Lift the armpits, lift your ears and lift the crown of the head. Breathe in, raise up the arms, a full extension of the side of the trunk. Turn the palms to face forward, interlock your thumbs and stretch up. Feel the lumbar spine, lift the dorsal spine, lift and the cervical spine. Stretch the armpit and drop the knees. Don't hold the breath, take normal breaths in this pose. Breathe out and release your hands and fold in the legs again. Place your fingertips on the floor but out to the side. Your elbows should be in line with the knees. And now lift the sternum, lift the navel and look up. Put the buttock down. Walk your hands further out to the side and lift the navel, lift the sternum and look up. Feel that there's a gentle stretch to the lumbar area and walk your hands back. Stretch the legs out. Interlace your fingers, rotate at the wrist, turn the palms away from you. Breathing in, raise up the arms. Up arms in line with the ear. Heels away from you, toes towards you. Push your thigh down, push the sitting bone down and lift the navel away from the floor. Lift the sternum away from the navel. Soften the abdomen, stretch the armpit, lift the wrist, stretch the palms. Take a few breaths in this action and feel the L shape of your pose. Lengthening both sides, the legs, the trunk and the arms. Lengthen away from the hip. Breathe out, release. Fold the legs in and come to stand. Come to stand with your feet hip width apart. Breathe in and raise up your arms, a full extension from your feet to your fingers on both sides. Lift the side of the trunk, the back body and the front body. All you do now is bend the elbow, wrap your fingers around the elbow and stretch up. Breathing in, take the upper arm slightly behind the ear and stretch. Move the shoulder blades into the body, creating a concave back. From here, take a full breath in, stretch up. And as you breathe out, hinge at the hips and fold forward. Don't go down, we're going forward. Create the L shape again by lengthening your elbows horizontally. Move the navel away from the hip, move the sternum away from the navel, lengthen the trunk. Breathe in. So we're not going down, we're extending forward. Release your hands. Raise up the arms once again and change the bind. A full extension of the armpits and the area between the navel and the sternum. Take a full breath in, take the upper arm slightly behind the ear, move the shoulder blades in, create a concave back. As you breathe out, hinge at the hips, fold forward. So we're not going down, the trunk is at 90 degrees, upper arms in line with the ear, and stretch the elbows away from the hip. Move the navel away from the hip. Move the sternum away from the navel. Keep your legs fixed and stretch forward. And release your hands. Release your hands onto the buttock. Hold onto the buttock flesh. Roll the shoulders back. And see that the elbows are facing behind you. This is the action. Keep your feet hip width apart, outer edges of the feet parallel to each other. Move the shoulder blades in, lift the navel away from the hip, lift the sternum and look. Maintaining this concave action of the hip, hinge at the hips, fold forward, move the butt of flesh over the hip. L shape again. We're not going down. Feel the stretch of the back of the thigh from the knee to the butt of flesh. Feel it stretch. Move the quadricep back onto the femur bone to engage your legs. From your heels, the Achilles, to the knee, feel the stretch. So lengthen the hamstrings by rolling the butt of flesh over the hip. Roll your elbows up and gaze forward. Look forward. Lengthen the navel away from the hip, lengthen the sternum and create the L shape. Take a support to make it easier. We can use a chair or blocks, or place your fingertips on the floor. The first action is to breathe in, raise up the arms, and as you breathe out, place both your fingertips onto the chair, and you'll find that the action here is move the shoulder blades into the body, and this is the action. So we're not rounding the back, rather we're keeping the back straight as we learn to fold forward. Keep your legs straight, legs are vertical. This is the first position, learning to create a concave back and look up. The action is the same, feel the butt of flesh moving over the hip and lengthen the back of the legs. You can choose to use an ottoman as well. If you can, then you release your elbows to the floor and do the same. Lengthen the navel away from the sternum and creating a length in the trunk. The other alternative would be to place your arms on the top arm of the chair and lengthen the trunk away. Fix your wrists and lengthen the hip away, creating a length in the trunk. Front body, the back body, soften the abdomen and stretch. Look forward, stretch and then release the upper arms in line with the ear. The work here is to lengthen from the hip to the armpit and the armpit to the wrist. And up. You can even use a wall if you have to, as long as you have the 90 degree. The second option will be to use your yoga blocks. Place your blocks in front of you, in line with your feet, and cup your fingers, look forward, and lengthen the navel away from the hips, the sternum away from the navel, and look forward. These are the options or the tools that we could use to learn to lengthen the trunk in a forward extension with a full front body extension as well. If you're using the blocks, you can also release your palms onto the blocks, but maintain the length of the trunk. Whichever is available to you and whichever works to you, keep the head quiet, keep the face quiet. When you are in these poses, lift the back of the legs, feel the buttock flesh moving over the hip. The legs and the trunk as well. Release your pups, breathe in and come up. Step the feet out or wide apart. Bind your hands behind you, Paschimottanasana. Breathing in, create a concave back, move the shoulder blades into the body and look up. As you breathe out, move your forearm into the lumbar. Look forward, gaze forward and stretch forward. Press your feet down, move your thighs back, Feel the backs of the legs stretch from your heels to the knees, from the knees to the buttock. Feel the buttock flesh roll over the hip. Lengthen the navel away from the hip. Lengthen the sternum away from the navel. And feel the sides of the trunk lengthen. You could choose to use a chair support or bricks as well. If you're finding this difficult or it's too much on the lumbar, take your yoga blocks and do the same. Place your hands in the blocks, widen the stance if you have to, but maintain the concave back. If you have the flexibility, you can lower the height of your blocks and do the same, gazing forward. The work here is once again to feel the stretch of the back of the legs. Tough, keep the pace. Blocks, toe heel, toe heel, toe heel. Walk your legs closer together. And once again come to stand. Change the bind of your hands behind you and move the forearm into the lumbar. Step your feet apart. Breathing in, lift the sternum, lift the navel and look up. As you breathe out, hinge at the hips, fold forward. Continue to press the forearm into the back, creating your L-shaped posture once again. And turn over with the right leg out. Turn the left foot as well, create your train tracks. Breathing in, lift, move the forearms into the back, creating almost a concave action. If this is where you can stay, it's perfectly fine. Move the right hip forward and left hip back, and look up. As you breathe out, hinge at the hips, fold forward, and keep moving the forearm into the lumbar back. Once again, you can use your prop with this action. Place your wrists on the chair or your blocks and lengthen the trunk. Slide the chair away as you lengthen the trunk away from you, maintaining a concave back and the length. Breathe in, come up. Turn to face forward. Bind of your hands and over to the left. Stretch up. As you breathe out, hinge at the hips, fold forward. Feel the stretch at the back of the legs, lengthen the trunk. You need to use blocks as well. Keep the back straight and lengthen. Move your left hip forward and the right hip back. Align your hips to the front, to the left side. Cup your fingers onto the block, but maintain the extension of the trunk. This is where you are, is perfectly fine. We're learning not to round the back as we go down. You can lower the blocks if you want to. Maintaining or creating a concave back, a straight back. Imagine somebody is holding your hips down and extend the trunk. Breathing to come up. Turn your feet face forward. Up the arms once again. Stretch the elbows, lift the side of the trunk, and as you breathe out, hinge at the hips and fold forward. Release the trunk, release the spine, and let the weight of the elbows draw you down. Roll the buttock flesh over the hip, and almost stretch the spine down using the weight of your elbows. Soften the abdomen. And feel the back of the legs stretch as you soften the abdomen and release the spine down. Fingertips onto the floor, gaze forward. Toe heel, walk your legs hip width apart. Place your hands on your hips with a slight bend in the knee, breathing in. Breathing in, raise up your arms. Full stretch, a full extension. Lift your heels off the floor, maintain the height of your wrist, and release your heels onto the floor, feeling the stretch of the back of the body. Bind your elbows the other way, stretch up. As you breathe in, stretch the armpit behind the ear. Breathing out, hinge at the hips, fold forward. Now feel the stretch from the heel of both legs to the back of the knees. Stretch the back of the knees, stretch your thighs, lift the buttock flesh over the hip, and let the weight of your elbows draw you down. Soften the abdomen. Each time you breathe out, lengthen your elbows down to the floor. Push your fingertips onto the floor. Place your hands on your hips. Breathe in and slowly. And side of your mat. Take your knees as wide as the mat. And take your blocks or cup your fingers, creating a concave back. Pin the buttocks to your heels, lift the navel away from the floor, lift the sternum away from the navel, and walk your hands forward, maintaining a concave back once again. If you're using blocks, place your hands on the blocks. And the work here is to walk your hands forward or move your blocks forward, maintaining a concave back. You're not rounding the back is flat as you go down. And keep stretching the block and release it forward. Or keep your fingers cupped. Move the buttock back onto the heels, stretch the sides of the trunk. This is also good for the shoulders. Your fingers come onto your knee and lift into Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog, just as a release. Lift the hips, try to create a concave back once again by releasing the head below the arms, stretch the armpit, move the shoulder blades down. You can bend the knees slightly to create this action and then work to straighten the legs. The highest point is the hip. Feel the back of the legs stretch. Both sides of the trunk stretch. As you lift the hips, release your knees onto the mat. A full stretch back and release into child's pose. Stretch the arms, stretch the sides of the trunk, and then release your forearm onto the floor. Your hands back. Bring your fingertips in line with your knees and lift the trunk. Let your head look up. As you breathe out, release the chin to the chest. Feel the release of the upper back as you draw the upper back muscles down the back. Behind you. And come to lie, flatten your back. Keep your knees up and your feet flat on the floor. It brings some relief to the lumbar. Feel the lumbar spine settle, but feel the extension of the lumbar as well. Soften the abdomen. Both hands, draw both your knees in. That. Straighten your right leg, straighten your left leg. Roll out the thigh to the side. Feel the softness of the abdomen, the length of the spine. and release completely to the floor. Out, feel the abdomen release, feel the navel release. Keep the head quiet. Keep the face quiet. Place both hands in your abdomen. Raise up your knees one by one, picking your feet flat on the floor. Feel the lumbar spine settle, feel the abdomen settle. Become quiet. Roll over onto your side. Support the trunk with the left hand, with the right arm extended. And press with the left hand to come to sit. Come to sit in a comfortable position using your support, sitting on your support. And feel the extension of the front of the body, especially from the navel to the sternum. Eyes closed. Chest horizontally. Extend the trunk vertically. Feel the shoulder blades supporting the trunk. And feel the extension of your lumbar spine, the lumbar back. Join your palms together. Take a slow, deep breath in. And as you breathe out, release your chin to the chest. Breathe. Raise up your head. Release your hands. And open. Thank you for joining this session. Have a wonderful day. We will continue with forward extensions tomorrow, but going a little lower. Thank you very much.